Professor Mohammad Marandi is a professor of North American Studies, and he teaches in the Faculty of World Studies at the University of Tehran. Professor Marandi, please go ahead. Your floor is yours.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I am not in an ideal place to speak, but I'll try my best to make some sense of what's going on. I think the very fact that we are seeing these extraordinarily important changes in West Asia is due to the fact that the United States is on the decline. The resistance, as the previous speaker rightly pointed out, has had a very important role in pushing back the United States, NATO, and their imperial ambitions. And this resistance is comprised of different groups, different countries, different organizations that work together to overcome this very difficult era in West Asian history. The very fact that, for example, Saudi Arabia is now tilting away from the United States in relative terms is because the United States is on the decline. And that decline, I think, is largely because the United States has overextended itself, like empires do. And the Saudis have found a certain amount of space, so they've tried to improve their relations with Russia, China. They also wish to redefine their relations with Iran. And as a result, we now see rapprochement taking place between Saudi Arabia and Syria. And the hope is that this also extends to Yemen. So I think this is important because it gives us hope that the United States in future will be less capable of manipulating the region. The method through which the United States is able to control the region is a combination of power, which is decreasing, but also through dividing the region. The main focus of US policy in this region is to maintain Israeli and apartheid strength. And of course, as the United States declines, this becomes more difficult because dividing the region also becomes more difficult for the United States to maintain. It is difficult for Europe and the United States to keep nations divided when they do not have the authority that they did in the past. So as the United States declines, the ability to divide and govern, the divide and conquer, divide and rule becomes less possible. And under these circumstances, we see also through the decline of the West, the shift in Turkey as well. Although it's too early to say, but the next president of Turkey, whoever he may be, will definitely recognize that NATO is in decline. Indeed, Turkey is facing major challenges because of its integration into Western economies, in the Western camp, and that the decline of the West poses new challenges for Turkey. So as Turkey has to readjust its policy, like Saudi Arabia, hopefully we will see a reevaluation of their relationship with countries like Syria and Iraq, but Syria most importantly. And this future, the future of the West Asia, if these changes take place, if we do see this rapprochement that began with Iran and Saudi Arabia and is spreading across the region, if this continues, then I think we will see the collapse of Western hegemony in this region. Of course, this is not a foregone conclusion, and empires, as they decline, they become less predictable and often more dangerous. But I think the integration of the region, the fact that there's a possibility of convergence between Turkey, Syria, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Yemen, that we will be, if this continues, we will be faced with a new reality. Of course, I have to point out that this attempt for rapprochement began over 3 years ago, when General Soleimani, who led the coalition against ISIS, when he was traveling to Baghdad to meet the Iraqi Prime Minister, he was to meet the Iraqi Prime Minister at 8 a.m. roughly, and he arrived in Baghdad International Airport after 12 p.m. He was planning to see the Iraqi Prime Minister to discuss a Saudi letter. This is something that the former Iraqi Prime Minister said in Parliament. And the letter from the Saudis was about how to try to decrease tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And of course, General Soleimani was murdered by the Trump regime. So the initial attempts to bring about rapprochement were thwarted by the Americans. Not only did they want revenge on General Soleimani for defeating the extremist groups that NATO helped create, NATO and their allies, but the United States was fearful of a convergence of interests among countries in the region. Of course, later on, this attempt for rapprochement continued. The Iraqis they hosted numerous meetings between the Iranians and the Saudis. There was progress. They also spoke in Oman. And ultimately, after the Saudis asked the Chinese government to mediate, this rapprochement was brought about through the agreement that was struck in Beijing, which we all know about. So the decline of the West creates new opportunities for non-Western countries. Countries like China, when they do not interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, they are seen as honest brokers, unlike the United States, which constantly takes sides and tries to manipulate. So as long as the United States continues down this road of manipulation, hegemony, domination, and war, it will continue to decline. And as long as the countries in the global south try to seek solutions where they are not seen to be mimicking US policies, then they will benefit and continue to rise. Thank you very much.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.